Welcome to this week's Retail Reality Check, where we break down all the latest tech installs and what they really mean for the industry. This is all brought to you by our friends at IHL Group. Hey, before we jump into the news, you've got to check out IHL's latest research. It's called How Retail Leaders Outperform, and it's a fantastic review of the IT investments and technologies that are really moving the needle in retail. Seriously, go check it out. All right, let's get into it.
So the big picture this week, the thread connecting all these stories, is this idea that the era of good enough is just over. We're at a huge turning point.
And this quote from Greg Buzek at IHL Group absolutely nails it. Good enough data is no longer sufficient for survival. I mean, just let that sink in. This isn't about getting a little competitive edge anymore. We're talking about basic survival. And because of that, we are seeing this huge, definitive shift away from those old, messy legacy systems toward unified cloud platforms. So what are the signs that this is happening right now? Well, we're seeing 4 key things. First, everybody's aggressively chasing operational agility. Second, there's this big aha moment that AI is completely useless if your data is a mess. Third, the winners are absolutely laser-focused on fixing that massive trillion-dollar inventory distortion problem. And finally, and this is probably the most important part, that execution gap between the leaders and, well, everyone else, it's turning into a canyon.
So to see what this really looks like, let's start at the beginning, building that data foundation. And our first story is a huge transformation over at Lowe's.
Okay, so picture this. You're Lowe's, a Fortune 100 company. You'd think everything is sleek and efficient, right? Well, the reality was that their finance teams were spending more time just trying to hunt down data across a bazillion different systems than they were actually analyzing it. It was a total mess of dispersed data and hundreds of integration points.
So how do you fix a problem that big? You go bigger. Lowe's new data platform now crunches through 100 million records every single day. That's the sheer scale we're talking about in modern retail. It's just mind-boggling. And look at the difference it made. I mean, they went from total data chaos, silos, and manual work to a single source of truth, where teams can actually serve themselves with analytics. This is literally what building a modern data foundation is all about. And Lowe's is definitely not alone here. IHL's data shows that a whopping 71% of retailers say integration complexity is their #1 barrier. But by fixing this, by centralizing their data, Lowe's can now go after that 1.7 times trillion-dollar inventory distortion problem. And here's the reality check. Retailers who don't do this, they see 155% higher rates of just failing to get things done. The stakes couldn't be higher. Okay, so once you get that clean foundation in place, that's when the real fun starts. You can finally let loose with powerful tools like AI. This is where you go from just having data to actually using it to change the entire game. And if you want to see what moving fast looks like, check out Newell Brands. In just 9 months, they went from just dabbling in AI to having over 100 fully implemented use cases up and running. This isn't some little pilot program. This is an all-out AI blitz. So what's the result of going all in like that? A 500% increase in their digital marketing assets. Think about that. More content, more customer touchpoints, and they did it all with fewer people. That's the kind of insane productivity that just changes the math for a business. And let's break that down. Customer service response times, they dropped from 3 hours down to just 15 minutes. Overall productivity shot up by 300 to 400%. And on top of all that, they're getting deeper insights into their consumers than they've ever had before. That's the payoff right there. Now, Newell's strategy was full throttle, super aggressive, but that's not the only way. You can also look at Procter & Gamble. They've built something they call an AI factory. It's a more methodical, platform-based approach to scale AI, and they claim it cuts their deployment time by 6 months. So 2 very different paths, but they both get you to the same place, scaling AI effectively. Okay, so we've talked about the huge strategic platform plays, but modernization is also happening right where the rubber meets the road, at the core of the operation. So let's do a quick fire round of some really cool upgrades happening on the ground. First up, Schnucks Markets is tackling that massive headache of gift card fraud. They're using a solution from Digimarc, where the scanner itself can tell if a gift card has been messed with. If it has, it just won't activate. It's so smart and simple, it stops the fraud right at the source. Now, over in the Netherlands, the Supermarket Plus is basically turning their store aisles into digital gateways. They're rolling out these cool 4-color electronic shelf labels in 265 stores. And it's not just about changing prices on the fly. It's about optimizing inventory and making in-store picking for online orders way more efficient. And here's a great example of bringing different parts of the business together. Lonestar Tool and Fastener is using a unified POS from Zoku. It lets them handle everything from their complex pricing for B2B contractors to their retail counter and even their mobile sales teams, all from one system. No more confusion. And you might be wondering, does all this unifying actually pay off on the bottom line? Well, you can ask Seabags. By moving all 36 of their stores and their e-commerce onto one Shopify platform, they slashed their annual platform costs by 20%. It's just simpler, and yep, it's cheaper. So when you pull all of these stories together, from Lowe's massive data project to the smart, focused plays from smaller retailers, you arrive at the most important point of the week, this widening execution gap. We are really seeing a tale of two different retail markets emerging. And this is where the story gets really tough for a huge part of the industry. You've got these mid-market retailers, right? They're expecting to grow, but they're stuck in this incredibly dangerous spot where they are just being massively outspent on technology by the giants. And this chart just lays it out in black and white. For every single dollar a mid-market retailer spends on technology, their Tier 1 competitors are spending 2. A 2-to-1 spending advantage? That's not a gap, that's a chasm. And that's what's fueling that execution advantage we keep talking about. The window to catch up is closing, and it's closing fast. Which really brings us to the final critical question that everyone needs to be asking themselves. Is your technology closing that gap? Or are you actually falling further behind? For a way deeper dive on this, you can check out the full narrative on these stories and 40 more case studies over at ihlservices.com. Thanks for joining me.
I'm terrified about the Abercrombie presentation because I don't have the right data to close the deal.
No problem. Just ask Greg AI.
This business plan is a nightmare. I can't find reliable forecasts for the total available market.
That's easy. Just ask Greg AI.
This sounds nice, but where is the total available forecast?
I don't have it.
You don't know? Try Just Ask Greg AI.
Stop guessing. JustAskGreg.ai democratizes elite analyst services.
We use real-time, proprietary data that doesn't hallucinate or just make stuff up. It's intelligence you can trust.
Get the data. Close the deal. Visit JustAskGreg.ai today.